If you're not in a relationship right now and you feel uneasy about it, or you are in one but you still feel anxious, insecure, or unsettled, this video is probably for you. And just to be clear, it's not a dating video, it's a perspective shift. Because for a lot of people, the issue isn't finding a relationship necessarily, it's what they're hoping the relationship will fix. If being alone makes you restless, if silence feels uncomfortable, if you constantly wonder where you stand with someone, that feeling isn't random. It's trying to tell you something, and most people drown it out by chasing connection instead of trying to understand it. We live in a time where being alone feels almost wrong. There's always someone out there posting couple photos, always someone talking to someone else, always some unspoken pressure that if you're single by a certain age, you must be missing something. So a lot of people don't actually enter relationships out of clarity. They enter them out of discomfort, out of boredom, out of loneliness, out of comparison. And when that's the motivation, something subtle happens. The relationship becomes less about mutual growth and more about emotional regulation. You're not choosing someone, you're using proximity to quiet a feeling. That's when boundaries start eroding. You tolerate things you normally wouldn't. You downplay your needs. You stay quiet to keep the peace. Not because it feels right, but because being alone feels worse. And this doesn't necessarily just apply to relationships only. It can apply to friendships or even with your family. Humans are social. Wanting connection is healthy. There's nothing wrong with desiring intimacy. But when a relationship becomes the solution to your internal discomfort, it stops being a relationship and it starts becoming a burden, a dependency. And dependency always carries anxiety. Because deep down, you know, if this person leaves, the feeling will come back. Here's something uncomfortable but true. People don't usually settle consciously. They settle gradually. It starts with ignoring small red flags, typically at the start of a relationship, then justifying behavior, then convincing yourself that every relationship has issues. And that is true. Every relationship has issues. But there's a difference between growing pains and chronic self-abandonment. A lot of people measure relationships by one question. Isn't this better than being alone? But that's the wrong question. Because if you don't know how to be alone, being alone will always feel unbearable. So anything will look better by comparison. I see this with a lot of people who idealize long-term relationships they admire. Parents, mentors, older couples. But here's what they don't see. The arguments, the near breakups, the years where love wasn't romantic, it was work. They're comparing their behind-the-scenes chaos to someone else's finished story. They're looking at their own messy reality and comparing it to someone else's highlight reel. If you don't see what real relationships actually take, you'll keep chasing a feeling instead of building something real. And feelings, they fade faster than you think. Now I'm going to talk about the relationship that most people neglect. And it's not with their family, it's not with their friends. It's actually within themselves. This is where things shift. The most important relationship you will ever have is the one you'll never be able to leave. And it's the relationship with yourself. This isn't about self-love slogans or affirmations. It's about something far more practical. Can you sit with yourself without needing distraction? Do you trust your own judgment? Do you respect the life you're building? Because if you don't, you're unconsciously inviting someone else to give your life meaning. And that's a burden no relationship can carry for long. There's a saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. But here's the deeper truth. When your cup is empty, you don't just give less, you start resenting the people who rely on you. That's when relationships feel draining, overwhelming, or suffocating. Self-prioritization doesn't mean rejecting love. It means building your own goals, your own direction, your own internal stability so that love becomes an addition, a bonus, and not a lifeline. Most people avoid this work because it requires a lot of honesty and vulnerability, not asking, why does this always happen to me? Instead asking, why do I keep choosing this? And that question changes everything. Now, balance matters. There is such a thing as too much self-focus. I've personally experienced it. When self-improvement turns into constant pressure, when reflection turns into self-criticism, when being single feels like falling behind, that's not growth, that's punishment. The goal isn't necessarily to fix yourself, it's to understand yourself with compassion. Instead of, what's wrong with me? Ask yourself, what am I afraid of? Instead of, why do I need someone? Ask, what am I trying to avoid feeling? And once you identify the root, for example, fear of abandonment, needing validation, having constant anxiety, you don't suppress it. You don't push it down. You talk about it to people you trust, or you write it down, journal it. You let it exist without judgment. Because reflection without grace doesn't heal you. It just makes you hate yourself, and constantly criticizing yourself doesn't benefit you at all. So treat yourself with grace. Ask yourself questions that steer you towards growth, and be kind to yourself. Next, I'm going to talk about my personal shift and what actually changed in my life. For me, the early years of my relationship were difficult. There were a lot of anxiety, a lot of overthinking, a lot of fear about losing something I cared about. And what changed everything wasn't necessarily forcing my own control over the relationship, because you can't control others. Instead, what changed was redirecting my energy. I realized I poured a lot of energy into anxiety, into overthinking. And I redirected it. Instead of obsessing over the future of the relationship, I focused on instead building my own life, my goals, my routines, my ability to take care of myself and the people close to me. And something unexpected happened. The relationship stopped feeling fragile. It stopped feeling like something I had to protect, stopped feeling like something I was worried to lose, because I was no longer asking it to hold me together. That's when it became enriching instead of heavy. So if you feel like you need a relationship right now, or if you're just anxious about relationships in general, pause. Ask yourself one honest question. Am I seeking connection, or am I just trying to escape myself? Think about it. If you're looking for someone to complete you, to fill the gaps you haven't faced on your own, that's not love. That's avoidance. The healthiest relationships don't save you. They don't fix your life or your feelings. They meet you where you already are. They add to your life, not carry it. And here's the truth most people don't realize. The more stable you become internally, the less anxious you'll feel about relationships in general. The less you'll cling, chase, or settle, and the more clearly you'll recognize real connection when it shows up. It's not about being perfect. It's about being grounded, about respecting yourself enough to know what you want and accepting that growth takes time. So here's the challenge I want to leave you with. Take 5 or 10 minutes today, just 5 or 10 minutes, and reflect on your life, your habits, and your emotional patterns. Ask yourself, where am I leaning on others instead of myself? What fears am I avoiding? What am I chasing that isn't real? Write it all down. Say it all loud. Talk to someone you trust. Because vulnerability is not weakness, it's how you start understanding your patterns. And the deeper you understand yourself, the easier it is to create relationships that are actually enriching instead of anxious, draining, confusing, or toxic. And here's the last thing I'll leave you with. Your relationship with yourself sets the standard for every connection you have in life. If you nurture it, respect it, and grow it, love doesn't feel like a burden. It feels like a choice, and one you actually get to enjoy. So take that energy, that focus, that curiosity, and start building the foundation your future relationships and your own life truly deserve. And if this perspective hits you today, do one small thing. Pause, reflect, and share your thoughts. Comment below. What's one truth you're realizing about yourself today? Because awareness is the first step to freedom. And sometimes, the conversation you start here is the one that changes everything. Thanks for watching, Rardo. If this video resonated with you, consider subscribing. It only takes a second.